G'day guys, let's get straight into part 2. Today what we're going to do is we're going to have a go at building the frame. So, got our base plate here, just going to put that to the side for the second. Everything else we need is in this little pack, so we're going to crack that open and see what we've got. Right, so in here we have a bunch of different screws, washers, foam pads, nothing of which is labelled, sort of interesting. We've got our top plate, parts for our camera, our aluminium frame for the camera as well, got a battery strap, some stickers which we don't need for the moment. Alright, let's start putting this together. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put in the screws and stuff to mount our flight controller. So we need the 12mm bolts, which are these ones, which are the largest ones in the pack. So we're going to get the 4 of those out. We also need our, they're called bobbins, these bits which our flight controller will actually mount on, so we need the 4 of those. And we need some nuts, which are on the side here. We need 8 of those. Alright, so quite simply, start by slotting through the 12mm screws. Put one of our M3 nuts on each one. Normally between these nuts and the bobbins is where we would mount our PDB, but because my PDB is built into my flight controller I don't need to do that. So I can tighten these right up and then I can put the little bobbins on there, which is what our flight controller will sit on. So I'm going to put those on, put the nuts on top. Next up we're going to start our camera assembly. So for that we're going to need the 4 aluminium parts. We're also going to need these carbon fibre parts. We're going to need the 10mm bolts, which there's 6 of in the packet here. And we're going to need this little part of the package at the end here with the little grey nuts and the thumb screws and various bits and pieces. To start our camera bracket build, we're going to grab one of the black carbon fibre pieces and one of the black rubber pieces. And this rubber piece is going to have to press fit into the hole in the carbon. We want the larger hole in the black rubber piece to line up with the gap in the bracket here. I'm going to flip that over and put one of these press fit nuts into the hole and use one of the thumb screws. Next, I'm going to grab one of these little white nylon washers and put that in the gap. And grab a little 5mm screw, slide it through that hole. This is what's going to screw into our camera. So if I grab our Foxeer camera here, try and line those two up. It's a bit hard behind the camera. Now I've got the first part of our camera assembly done. What we need next is one of the big curved aluminium pieces and one of the straight aluminium pieces. What we're going to do is we're going to slot our camera into the gap here, lining up the 3 holes. The straight piece will then go over the top 2 holes, and we're going to grab 2 10mm nuts to slide in and hold that all together. And that's the first half of our camera assembly done. Now we just need to repeat the same on the other side. So now we've got both sides done, Still feels quite loose, and that's because we've still got an extra part to add. We need to go back to our packet and grab out the smaller rectangular piece from the back here. We also need to grab some 5mm cuphead bolts, which are these small ones. We're going to need 8 of those. What we need to do now is grab the rectangular carbon fibre piece. It'll lay across the top, like so. And we need to simply use one of the 5mm bolts to fill up each of those 8 holes. And there we have our camera frame built. The final thing we want to do is grab the little foam pad, pull out the little inserts because we don't need those. I'm going to peel that off and stick it on top in the gap, and this is going to act as a bit of cushioning for our GoPro or HD cam. That's our camera assembly done. Now to get the whole thing together. Now we're going to go back to our bag of screws and we're going to grab out the last 4 12mm bolts, so the thin ones with cup heads. We need 4 of those. We're going to slot those through the 4 holes at the front of the quad. Before we do that, we're going to slide the camera assembly over the frame. We're going to line up those 4 holes for our screws to go through. And there we go, we've now got our camera assembly connected to our frame. And the next step in our frame build would be adding the top plate and a little bracket for the back here. We're not going to do that just yet because that's going to get in the way of doing our electronics and soldering and stuff, so we'll do that as one of the final steps of our build. Thanks for watching again. Next video I'm going to start working on the electronics. Stay tuned because that's the bit that I struggle with the most because my soldering sucks. So I hope to see you next time. Thanks for watching.